Lake of Shadows is the Nightfall this week, and I know what you're probably thinking. Cross, this Nightfall's easy. I don't need a guide. But I'm here to tell you right now that I have been shown the way. I actually tuned into a Discord with about 3 German fellas who showed me how to get super sweaty in this Nightfall. And I'm not just talking about skipping the blights. I'm talking about even further than that. Skipping champions. That's right, skipping champions and still getting platinum. But you gotta do it the right way, fellas. Now, there are timestamps for everything, but I am gonna give you our builds, what we utilized today and what worked well for us. This is probably different than what you've been seeing from a couple other content creators. I know that Rick Cactus did a sword strat, and by all means you can go that route. I actually just didn't feel that comfortable with the sword, so what we actually rocked was 2 sleeper simulants with divinity. Now I know you're probably thinking, whoa, Cross, what are you dragging this ancient relic out of your vault for? Well, it does debuff enemies. It also gives you a huge, ginormous crit multiplier, and it stuns overload champions. But if that's not enough to sell you on divinity right now, divinity currently is the only debuff in the game that can stack with particle deconstruction. Now, we made an entire video on something called the boom strat. We called it a boom strat because essentially it made every boss go boom. It killed them almost instantly. Unfortunately, Bungie has dealt with this as we were doing things they didn't want us to do. We were stacking buffs and debuffs and debuffs on debuffs and buffs on buffs. They've dealt with everything except divinity. Divinity, though, does stack with particle deconstruction, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you proc particle deconstruction first or divinity first. There's no mix up anymore, guys. You can apply both of those debuffs whenever. And by the way, I will link this image that you see here in front of you for those that want to look at this. This is actually Court's document. He has a lot of these that explains all the buffs and debuffs throughout the game, and it's constantly being updated. And I'll also link the main link to everything, and that'll be in the description below. Now back to builds. Yes, we are rocking divinity. Yes, Bombad and Les both are rocking sleeper simulant. There is only one void shield in this Nightfall, so I suggest just having one of you rock a void based weapon. I'm rocking threaded needle. Honestly, I don't even have to do that. I could rock something else, considering I'm also playing on bottom tree Night Stalker. I was originally on Revenant, but I swapped over to Night Stalker simply because Invis is what's going to really cut down time on this Nightfall and allow you to scoot all the way through it very quickly. Now, I am rocking Aeon Swift still, which is not optimal. Obviously, Omnioculus would be the preferred choice here, but neither Bombad or Les wants to play that support, so I have to. But to be honest with you guys, I was able to get away with the amount of invises that I was getting, and of course, Gambler's Dodge to refresh that, even when pushing through areas where I had to get multiple melees off. Now, mod-wise, I do suggest everyone on the team, especially considering you're going to be stacking things like Divinity, Well of Radiance, Particle Deconstruction, which really only 1 to 2 of your teammates needs to be rocking Particle Deconstruction for the rest of your fire team to take advantage of it, but everyone needs to be using Focusing Lens. Again, Bombad's rocking Shade Binder, so he's applying stasis to everything, and in that process, while we are standing in a well, all of that outgoing damage is being considered as light ability damage. Now, what you don't want to do is pop your tether like I did. This actually will override the stacking between Divinity and Particle Deconstruction. So something to keep in mind, guys. Make sure when you're at the boss to just be using Divinity for your teammates, which was stacked with Particle Deconstruction for them and Focusing Lens. Now, armor-wise, Bombad was still rocking the stag, and I know I'm showing him here with Well of Radiance on, but I actually took these screenshots before he actually swapped a Shade Binder. But he was rocking an Arc Pulse Rifle, an Eye of Soul to deal with the snipers and vandals on the bridge. Les was rocking Well of Radiance, but with Phoenix Protocol instead, and a Cartesian Coordinate here, which he likes to use a lot with Taken Spec. And by the way, Taken Spec does work in this Nightfall. Now, Cartesian's really nice because just a single burst from a fusion rifle will apply that full effect of particle deconstruction. And of course, if you're pairing this with mods like Unstoppable Fusion Rifle up against Unstoppable Champions, not only will you be stunning them, but you'll simultaneously be applying that huge debuff to them. Outside of that, guys, the normal mods that I suggest for this Nightfall is, of course, Protective Light. I'm rocking Empower Finish because I'm always going for finishers, Powerful Friends, Reactive Pulse, so I can get an overshield during those finishes, which saves me a ton. And of course, taking charge just so that I can pick up more charges of light. Outside of that, guys, the modifiers for this Nightfall include Emet Tapia. Taking combatants generate blank geysers when defeated, unstoppable when overload champions, extinguish, limited revives, champion mob, and of course, Grask Bio. Incoming environmental damage increase, as well as knockback damage and distance increase. It's annoying, fellas. Honestly, concussive damner and arc resistance kind of saved my life a little bit here, so you may want to consider it. With that being said, though, let's talk strats. Guys, in this Nightfall, it opens up in this area where you have have the 2 Cabals there on the side with their shields. I highly advise taking care of them first before looking at the Scions on the right. Take care of the Scions and don't really run right up there into the Blight. Try to bait that Unstoppable Champion out. Deal with him, deal with the other hand, and now completely skip this first Blight. You'll then move up to the second Blight. You'll have 2 Unstoppable Champions and a Phalanx behind them. Deal with the Unstoppable Champions. Whoever it is that's rocking Aeon Gauntlets, get some finishers off, provide heavy ammo for your teammates, and then you also want to skip this second Blight as well. Move up to the third Blight, kill both of these Unstoppable Champions, get a finish off if you need, and now you want to take out the Blights. Now, you can actually jump on top of these Blights, guys, and do damage to them without actually taking any damage. And if you're really trying to optimize on time, you could split up each one of you to a different Blight. So we actually left Bombad there at Blight number 3. I went to Blight number 2, and Les went to Blight number 1. You want to take out these Blights 3, 2, 1 in that order. Upon taking out those Blights, though, in that order, this will result in none of the other ads actually spawning in. You'll then move up to the area where you have a little mini boss that spawns in, the 2 Overload Champions behind them, as well as a number of ads. Deal with that mini boss first, then the trash ads, and then each one of these Overload Champions together. Now, I always suggest to never get too greedy with finishes, as it can really put your team in a bind. Kill the first champion, especially if there's 2 of them together. Kill the first one and leave the second one for the finish. And sometimes what you actually want to do is stun, do enough damage to get them down, wait, and then stun again, and then push up for the finish. I will say for my hunters, though, that are rocking invis, you can of course just invis yourself, then push up and get the finish off. After this part, you want to traverse the reservoir area, completely invis, and go all the way down there at the bottom. Now, when you actually drop down at the bottom, you can pop a super in that area, but really, you can use your weapons to clear these ads out. And if you clear out the captain that's constantly casting, you can then jump up above the doorway if you want, which can keep you out of harm's way of everything that's doing melee damage. Now, moving to the bridge area. The bridge area, guys, starts off with 2 Unstoppable Champions right there in the doorway. We open up with the Well of Radiance right here, and then begin to start dealing with these champions. Again, for my stasis user, this is a perfect opportunity for you to take advantage of Focusing Lens, drop the stasis turret out there, or maybe just apply a melee or something. Just get some stasis on that enemy, and then proceed to combo Particle Deconstruction for your linear fusion rifles and fusions, Divinity, and stand in the Well of Radiance. You'll do massive amounts of damage. I do advise, though, finishing off one of these champions, as there's really not going to be a lot of opportunities to finish champions on this bridge, as many of them are out of your range. Upon dealing with these Unstoppable Champions, though, kill these trash ads. This is a great time for whoever your Tether Hunter is to provide orbs for your teammates, and then you're going to move up and jump up to that first platform. This is when you want to deal with the Overload Champion that's directly in front of you. But after you kill this Overload Champion, don't move up. You really want to just sit tight, snipe the Vandals from afar, because the moment you move up to that next platform, they're all going to be looking at you. And if I got my Stag user there, he needs to be dropping rifts constantly to help keep you alive. But deal with that Overload Champion that's down on the bridge, and also deal with the mini boss that's in the very, very back. He has a solar shield, so you'll have to hit him with something from afar that does solar damage. Sleeper is perfect for that. Normally, Les and Bombad would deal with him by themselves, and I would move down and start dealing with some of the trash ads that are accumulating under us. Those are all those Scions that are multiplying. After dealing with those trash ads, though, you will have 2 more champions to deal with, an Overload and an Unstoppable. They're on that left side, and they like to hide, and they can be extremely annoying. Now, you can go invis and go around them if you want. We were doing the strat here where we were just kind of pinning them up together. I would start to stun the Overload Champion and applying Divinity pretty much to everything over there, and Bombad and Les would just unload. I would normally like to get a finish off here, though, just to top off that heavy ammo before going into the next room. Now, going into this next room, this is by far the most annoying room out of the entire Nightfall. And it's actually not even the first part that's annoying. The first part is just an Unstoppable Champion and a number of ads. You want to bait that Unstoppable Champion to you, get a finish off if you can, but it's this next part that can really put you in a bind, because you got a lot of knights that sit up on top of that catwalk that will rain hellfire down on you, as well as Overload Champions. Turns out, big shout out to Base and my German guys, you can just go invis and completely skip this part. That's right, guys, you can skip this entire area. You can go straight to the little mini boss there, kill the mini boss, and proceed through this Nightfall and still get platinum despite you skipping that champion. Now, in this room right here, guys, you've got another Overload Champion that sits up top. Normally, we would just send Bombad in to clear everything out with his super, as he's not going to need it in the final boss room. Get some finishes off. You'll then have 2 more overload champions before going into the boss room. Be very careful here. I feel like people always got farmed in this area. For my people that are rocking Stag, always feel free to drop a riff, right? That extra resist helps so much. Now, the boss room itself. This is honestly the easiest room. You'll kill the ads there in the middle. You can jump on top of this blind if you want, do damage to it, and then the boss will spawn. Now, I popped a tether on one of them. That's not what you're supposed to do. And then the next damage phase, we actually ended up messing up on because Bombad had all of his stasis abilities on cooldown. But despite all that, this boss is still very easy to take down if you're combining what we're doing here, which is Sleeper, Divinity, all those things. And if you are taking advantage of the boom strat, he'll die even faster. The boss room is by far the easiest room out of all of this. And of course, after killing the boss, despite skipping that champion and that super aggravating room, you still get platinum. And that right there, guys, is how you do this Nightfall sub 10 minutes. We actually got like 9 minutes and 29 seconds and then trimmed it down some more to like 9 minutes and 8 seconds. But honestly, fellas, I really think we can get it down to 8.5 minutes, potentially 8. But we would have to be scooting to get down there. Regardless though, I'll take 9-minute runs for God Roll Palace all day long. Fellas, good luck this week. Let me know in the comments below of your favorite strat for this week's Nightfall. And again, regardless of whatever build you use, skip those blinds and skip that champion. That alone will save you so much time. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.